Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, it's crossover Thursday, and Tony Wiggins from Locked On Jaguars is here to break down this matchup. What's been going on with the Jaguars this season? What are the Titans feeling now that John Robinson is gone? Then we'll touch on some big matchups in this game. The Jags offensive line against the Titans defensive line, and then Christian Kirk against the Titans defensive backs. Finally, Tony and I will give our game and score predictions, and we don't agree on the outcome. All of that and more on a crossover Thursday edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Let's get it.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is crossover Thursday, and I got to tell you guys, if I'm honest, it's my favorite crossovers of the year. I am Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans, here with my divisional rival and one of my close mentors here at the Locked On Podcast Network, Tony Wiggins from Locked On Jaguars. We're going to be breaking down this matchup with you guys. We're going to start off with the biggest storyline for both teams. The Titans one is pretty obvious at this stage in the week, but excited to hear what's been going on in Jacksonville as well. Before we get into it, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by our friends at PrizePicks. PrizePicks is so much fun. It's easy to play. No competing with other players. It's just you versus the PrizePicks projections. You pick 2 to 5 players, and if they score more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can win up to 10 times your money on your entry. It can literally take less than 60 seconds to enter. It's that easy. We love PrizePicks, and we know that you will too. First-time users can receive a 100% instant deposit match up to $100 with promo code Locked On. That's prizepicks.com, promo code Locked On. Thanks for making Locked On Titans and Locked On Jaguars your first listen every day. It's free Monday through Friday, year-round content on your team. Make sure you stay locked in to your local Locked On podcast. But Tony, so excited to talk to you. I've been talking up and down about John Robinson and the situation, so I will gladly let you go first here. What's been going on with the Jags? They're 4-8. Is that correct? 4-8
They're 4-8.
4-8.
4-8.
Yeah, and that sounds bad, but Jacksonville, from what they had last year with Urban Meyer, could be an improvement. Where's kind of your gauge on how you should feel about the team this year?
It's interesting that you asked me that, because I'm going to tie it into what you're going to talk about with John Robinson being let go. But first, my viewers, they know who you are because of the preview and the Jaguars. Are you serious? Yeah. And then I'm with the damn right, and they don't know, man. We like big little and big brother. You know what I'm saying? So that's how we get along. Me and you and the Texans. I don't got no beef with the Colts yet for some reason. Well, they're a little new, so we're gonna see if I can ruffle their feathers a little bit. But no, fans aren't satisfied, and it has a lot to do with the fact that there are still remnants of the past. Since Shad Khan took this team over, he's never did a total reboot. He's always kept someone. Even when he fires someone, he keeps someone from the previous regime, and that someone is Trent Baalke. So I knew if things got off the rails, that and even though they have improved, they still lost to the Texans. They still underachieved. Yeah. They beat the Ravens, and then came out the next week as flat as a board and got steamrolled for the first time all year in the biggest game of the year by the Lions. So when things go like that, the first thing they do is they point back to the piece that's there that everyone wanted to be gone in the first place, and that's Trent Baalke. So where you guys are in a situation where y'all have been the model of consistency. And I told somebody yesterday I told James Rapine on the Locked On NFL show yesterday, I said, a lot of people will cut their arm off to be where John Robinson and the Titans are. The problem is that's not enough when you're there. So with the Jaguars, even though they're not used to winning, they've lost for so long, and the prospects and the probability and the likelihood of them winning is right there in their face. So when they don't, The only thing they have to blame it on is the guy who was here while they were losing instead of us having a fresh start.
Yeah, that makes sense. People are never going to be able to judge things fairly unless you get rid of kind of the cancer that they all thought was the problem in the first place. I hear you on that. And obviously, yeah, that does spin into the Titans situation. And it's all about wanting to take that next step. And can you do it? I said on my show immediately after the firing that I think the big theme is good isn't good enough.
Mm-hmm.
Good isn't good enough for the Titans ownership. They want to be great. They want to have a real chance to compete in the playoffs. And even though the Titans are going to make the playoffs and all that, most likely, it just doesn't seem like they have the dogs, the horses, I guess, whatever you want to call it, the talent to actually push for that title. And that's why it's there. But spinning forward past that, John Robinson's draft, bust, misses, hits, AJ trade, all that's in the episode I recorded after to go through John Robinson's whole tenure. But what matters now is what comes next. And I think this is a must-win game for the Titans. An absolute must-win. Number one, you're coming off 2 losses. Just the reality of that, this is a division game at home, coming off 2 losses. That's just bad vibes in general. The vibes are down in the locker room. Then you add this firing on top of it and the target that Mike Vrabel has put on himself. You think the media was out in Nashville today for the press conference? Wait until the Titans lose at home to the Jags, who, all credit to the Jags, they have their moments in history. But to be honest, the Titans historically have really taken it to the Jaguars, especially the Derrick Henry era Titans against the Jags. So if the Titans were to come out and lose a 3rd game in a row at home to the Jags and not look themselves and Derrick Henry not look good and all that, on top of the turmoil that is going on right now, I think it would be an outright disaster. I think it may have long-term effects in the locker room of, does Jeffrey Simmons want to be here? Does, different players want to be here going forward? If you're looking at what's going on and what may happen, is the coach doing a hostile takeover? There's so much on the line. And we know, Tony, you've been around long enough to know the one thing that calms all of the seas is a win. So get a win and everyone will go back to ignoring the Titans again. All you got to do is win. So this is a must win for the Titans.
No, I agree. It's also a must win. And this is why the loss with the Jaguars last week was so disappointing. They have to play the Jaguars twice. Mm-hmm. And they're only up 3 games. And if they won, if the Jags had won last week, they would be down 2 with a chance to close it to 1 with another game against the Titans at home. Yeah. So it's a huge game from that perspective. The thing that I noticed, though, about that firing that you're talking about, and first of all, Jaguar fans are jealous because the day before he was fired, I said the Jaguars need to fire Trent Baalke, right?
Right.
So I think it was the same day, in fact, but I had already recorded. Jaguar fans are jealous. They're saying, see, shot is just that easy. And there was a report, too, that Baalke could be taking another role with the team, and they bring somebody else in next year. The reason why this is looked upon differently, as to say like the Mike McCarthy situation when he was in Green Bay, is because the Titans and the Jaguars as an organization are not bigger than the figurehead that they have at coach.
Right.
Doug Peterson has won a Super Bowl, and Mike Vrabel, he's considered one of the 5 or 6 best coaches in the league.
Yeah.
You look at a guy like John Harbaugh, he's not bigger than the brass at Baltimore. You look at Mike Tomlin, he's not bigger than the brass at Pittsburgh.
The Steelers,
They've had 3 coaches in my life, and I'm 53 years old, okay?
Right.
Mike McCarthy was not bigger than the Green Bay situation. But in this situation, the reason why I believe when things get stale, they're not going to look at the coach. They're going to look at the other guy, and they'll hold on and grab anything that they can. And as good as John Robinson has been in certain areas, the draft classes as of late, I always joke that they drafted a dude that was wanted by the cops, and then another dude that had mental health problems, and we're praying and hoping he gets his life together.
Right. Yeah.
But then the Bud Dupree signing, and then the trading of AJ Brown, because you did these other things that if you hadn't done, you could have kept your star player. When you add all of those things together, man, they needed a reason, and he gave it to them. Because they're not going to fire Vrabel. If they don't, just imagine if they thought they needed a change yesterday, but they decided to get rid of Vrabel, they would have got laughed out of the league because
Yeah, and Vrabel would have been hired in a second by somebody else, probably at Ohio State.
Yeah, or they would have fired their coach and hired Vrabel, and you'd have seen something unprecedented. Somebody would have named him coach in waiting, probably in Arizona somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Alex Clancy, by the way. Yeah, but that's the difference in these situations. I do understand where they're coming from in Tennessee with a new ownership group, though, because when you have a good team, you got 8, 9, 10 years. If you have a great quarterback, you have 10 to 12 years. But if you have a really, really good team, you have a small window, and that window might be trying to close right now for Tennessee.
Yeah, I think that's the reality. Is the Titans are at the end of their 4 to 5 year window from that 2009 run where they installed Tannehill, and Mike Vrabel feels he owes it to the players to try to keep the window open longer when John Robinson was ready to close it and open a new window a little bit quicker. I think that when it gets down to it, it might be that simple. But we're going to continue breaking down this game. We got to talk about some individual matchups, some player versus player matchups that we think will determine the outcome. We're also going to make our predictions at the end of the show. But before we get into that, do want to let you guys know that today's episode is brought to you by Audible. Audible is releasing a slate of new football podcasts that we're sure you're going to love. You'll be able to find a sneak peek of one of those podcasts, Block Forever, available on Locked On NFL right now. Block Forever is a brand new podcast from former NFL All-Pro Ryan Khalil and Audible. Ryan and guests discuss different topics like player physiques, sports betting, playing through pain, being a leader, how to deal with combative teammates. Nothing is out of bounds. Head to Locked On NFL's podcast feed for a sneak peek of Block Forever, or catch the full series available anywhere you get your podcasts, available everywhere now. Audible, get in the game. All right, let's continue this crossover Thursday here. We got Locked On Titans. I am Tyler Rowland. Tony Wiggins from Locked On Jaguars breaking down this AFC South matchup. And Tony, you're right. If the Jags would have been able to beat Detroit, this would have been a pretty interesting game with everything riding on it. Now, if the Titans really go down in flames here at the end of the year, then the Jags with this win could kind of climb back in. But if they're going to get the win, what kind of matchup, or where do you think the game is going to be won from a player standpoint?
First and foremost, until he retires, the job is going to be to stop Derrick Henry.
Right.
Everyone, he's technically from Nassau County, which is 30 minutes north. He's my wife's second cousin. I always tell people that they've never met, but he's really considered a Jacksonville kid. He's a Jacksonville guy, Right. And in fact, he would probably be more celebrated in Jacksonville if his playing career in the SEC wasn't so close to Tim Tebow's, who was another. You got two Heisman guys from the same area. So you got to stop him first and foremost. The other thing is they haven't generated much pass rush. So I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to get a little bit more exotic with it. And when you haven't generated pass rush, guys have a tendency to try to go wider and deeper. And what happens with that is, with a mobile quarterback, once you get past his armpits, it creates lanes for him to run, especially if you're playing any form of man-to-man. So that's going to be a problem, controlling Derrick Henry and then making sure that you don't sell out to pass rushing so bad that you allow Ryan Tannehill to extend plays or to get first downs or create second and short situations with his legs.
Yeah, I think that, and especially with Tannehill starting to feel a little bit better. He did tweak the other ankle, but said he was feeling pretty good. So obviously a little bit more mobile than when he was first injured with that initial ankle injury. And I do believe that the Jags are going to play man coverage in this game. That's just what people do against the Titans. So will the Titans offensive line against that pass rush be able to have a better performance? They give up 6 sacks against Philly last week. Now, Jacksonville's pass rush is not Philly's. No. So I think that will be, if the Titans can give Tannehill time, he might be able to make some things work. So that'll be a big matchup to watch. For me, on the other side of the ball, I'm looking at Christian Kirk in the slot. Everybody laughed about that contract at the beginning of the year, myself included, I'll admit. But Christian Kirk's been pretty good for Jacksonville and working in the slot there, giving Trevor Lawrence an easy outlet to go to when things are breaking down. The Titans have struggled with pass defense, and they're going to be banged up at cornerback. Christian Fulton was hurt against A.J. Brown last week. Will he play? We don't know right now. Probably unlikely. So you're probably going to have undrafted free agents at both corner spots. Roger McCreary going into the slot on passing downs. Titans put slot cornerback Elijah Molden on IR on Wednesday, so they're not going to have a lot of reinforcements there. The other guy who's been playing slot cornerback is Titans safety Amani Hooker, which he's done okay there, but he made his contract by being a deep safety. So who will match up against Christian Kirk in the slot? How will the Titans be able to defend that connection with him and Trevor Lawrence? I think that's probably a primary matchup that the Titans need to watch for. I did want to ask you, Tony, about some of the rookie linebackers, Travon Walker, Devin Lloyd, even Chad Mumma, who I know has gotten a little bit more. How are these guys doing on defense? And do you think the Titans could maybe attack the linebackers in pass coverage?
Walker's played well. He just hasn't gotten sacks. He got 3.5 on the year, and he hasn't really created and generated a lot of pressure because as athletic and as powerful as he is, he doesn't disengage. He really plays like a guy who should be playing the big end in a 3-4, right? He's very, very active in the run game. He goes hard all the time, but he's just not that pure athletic pass rusher. He's a guy that sort of changes the profile of your team. Mm-hmm. I'd like to see him put 10 pounds on and turn into a Justin Smith type, where he kind of bounces inside and out a little bit. I think he's going to be a really, really good player, but because he doesn't get the stats, there's going to be a lot of folks that are always going to second guess that pick. Devin Lloyd has sort of been replaced, and they're trying to find a spot for him. Chad Mumma, they were both drafted. Lloyd in the first round, Mumma in the third. Mumma's played better within their scheme. So there's a lot to be desired about if it's the scheme, if it's Mike Caldwell not putting them in the right place, if they need to play more 4-man fronts in a 4-3, which in a nickel, they go to a 4-man front. They run a 4-2-5. But other than that, they run a 3-4. Mm-hmm. The biggest key is Josh Allen. Josh Allen has been on a milk cart, man. He's been that way for 2 years, though, for me. I think his name is more than his ability. But the bigger back
that one game against Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen, I think did a lot for his public perception. Right,
and that's why I thought they should have traded him, because that one game tells you, that's the one that everybody remembers. But I got to give NFL people more credit, though. Those pro personnel guys from the other team, no, they're not going to fall for that trick, that Jedi mind trick of one game. They really do their homework. But something you said about Christian Kirk, if you don't mind me getting back to it.
Yeah, sure.
People did laugh at that contract. And if you look at the contract is basically a glorified 2-year deal. It's a 2-year, $35 million deal or whatever, which is a lot. But if he wasn't going to pan out, they could have gotten out of it after the third season or at season 3. But he has 62 catches for 829 yards and 7 touchdowns. And so that's with 4 games left or 5 games left.
Right. Titans could use that.
He's going to go over 1,000 yards, and he's probably going to go over 80, 85 catches. Mm-hmm. I said last year he had 982 yards receiving. I said, you know what? People wouldn't make a big deal out of that contract had he caught one more crossing pass for 18 yards, and it says in a 1,000-yard season.
Yep.
But he had 982 yards as the third receiver behind A.J. Green and DeAndre Hopkins. He's done everything he was supposed to do, and he's going to be a real good number 2 when they get Calvin Ridley in here next year.
Yeah, and as a man who has Calvin Ridley in his Dynasty League, I hope that works out. Moving forward, though, there is one matchup that I do want to call attention to here. The Jags have a pretty good run game as a team. I believe right now they're 9th in the NFL in rushing yards. So they've had success with Travis Etienne. I know James Robinson looked good early and then faded before they traded him. Jermichael Hasty has made some runs in here. So it looks like, obviously Trevor Lawrence can do some things with his legs too. But I just wanted to ask you generally about the offensive line of the Jacksonville Jaguars. It seems like, they're giving Trevor some time. They're moving some people in the run game. Have they been playing as solid as it seems like?
Sometimes. They're a very good run offensive line. I wouldn't say they're great. Luke Fortner needs to get a little stronger at center, but he's going to be fine because he's a technician. He's a rookie.
Yeah, I liked him out of Kentucky.
Yeah, the left guard position is a little bit of a quandary. They have to probably upgrade that, and you'll probably see them do that in the draft as opposed to signing someone else. But Brandon Sheriff has been great at right guard. Well, he's been good at right guard. I think Jawan Taylor's had his best season at right tackle, and he's 24 years old. He's going to be a free agent.
Yeah, I know.
Cam
Titans
Robinson
need to take a look.
Yeah, no, you don't need to keep your greasy hands over there where you're at. You ain't getting them. But Cam Robinson is a middle of the pack tackle. The problem is the Jaguars paid him. They didn't give him an extraordinary amount of money, but he's sitting around that $15-16 million range. And it's a Deion Dawkins type contract. There have been times this year where he's done some boneheaded things, man, and he's tried to justify it. They had a touchdown taken away in Kansas City when they were making a rally. It was 1st and goal from the 4-yard line. He got a penalty for being an eligible man downfield, which you have to be downfield 5 yards. What are you doing in the end zone?
Yeah, how is that even possible?
He says it's because of an RPO and he was trying to engage the linebacker. But if the linebacker's backing up, why don't you just stop?
Yeah.
So it's just stuff like that. And then last week against the Colts, he almost got Trevor's legs taken from out. Trevor had to have an MRI. Right. And he's just gotten beat at the wrong time. There have been things that happen with him that have happened at the wrong time for a guy like that. And going into games, you don't want to have to worry about people that you pay a lot of money.
Yeah, that's the whole point. You pay a lot of money so you don't have to worry about those spots. But that's the matchup portion of the show. We're going to get into our quick kind of game predictions on what we think will happen in this one. Before we get into that, though, do want to tell you guys that today's show is sponsored by BetOnline. BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. You can get all the latest odds and trends for every professional league out there, from football to basketball to soccer to esports. They've got it all at betonline.net. They're the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Also do want to tell you guys about Built Bars, the best tasting protein bars in the galaxy. You get the best of both worlds with Built Bar. You get all the health benefits that you need from a protein bar. They're low calorie, low sugar, high protein, high fiber, but they give you all the taste benefits of a candy bar. They have a beautiful flavor out right now, the white chocolate peppermint granola, perfect for the holiday season. They got a cookie dough topper. They got the coconut brownie bar. I mean, literally anything that you could ever want flavor-wise, you're going to find at Built Bar. So go get 15% off your order right now. Use the promo code LOCKEDON15 at Built.com. Once again, that's Built.com. Promo code LOCKEDON15 for 15% off your order. All right, guys, we are going to cap off this crossover Thursday. Locked on Titans, Locked on Jaguars. I am Tyler Rowland, host of Locked on Titans, with Tony Wiggins, host of Locked on Jags, breaking down this Week 14 matchup that if the Jaguars find a way to win and the Titans slide with a trip to Los Angeles next weekend to play the Chargers, there is a chance the Jags could claw back into the division race. But, Tony, I guess what it comes down to is, do you think that they can get this win in Tennessee with the Titans dealing with turmoil and give themselves a chance to be in the hunt as we head to the last month of the season?
Yeah, I do. And the reason why is because it's a tale of which team decides to show up. If the team that went to Detroit shows up and comes out flat, they'll get run out of Nashville, and get run out of Nashville faster than Nashville hot chicken gets run out of my stomach because I can't take it, right? So I do think, though, if the team that shows up with a chip on their shoulder, like the one that played Baltimore, because of the fact that the Titans don't have the weapons outside and because they can kind of key in on the running game a little bit, and Tannehill can be Tannehill sometimes, and you know what that means. I do believe that the Jaguars have a shot, and I think they have a chance. I don't know if they will, but I guess it's time for me to make a prediction. I'm going to say the Jaguars are going to win this from 27-16.
27-16. I got to tell you, I'll be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if this game is close, but I would be surprised if the Titans gave up that many points. The only team that scored that many points on the Titans this year is Philly and Buffalo. So if they do that at home, then yeah, now we're talking about the type of nightmare scenario that I was mentioning at the beginning and why I think it's a must win. Here's the thing that I think keeps this game closer for Jacksonville. Mike Vrabel's never played against Doug Peterson with Jacksonville. When you play against your division opponents, normally, like with the Colts, like with the Texans, Mike Vrabel has an idea of how they're going to react to certain things, what they want to do in certain scenarios, what coverages they want to play, what fronts and alignments they want to use against the Titans. You kind of know, and it's just about going out there and, hey, I got to be better than you. I know what you're going to do. I got to be better. The Titans don't know what the Jags are going to do now with a new coaching staff, a lot of different players. They haven't seen yes, they have film on the Jags for the first 13 weeks, but they haven't seen how the Jags react to what the Titans do. So I think there will be new wrinkles and things that the Titans aren't expecting that will give the Jags maybe a couple big plays, maybe get a couple pressures on Tannehill from a blitz package they haven't seen from the Jags before, this and that. And I think it'll keep it close. But ultimately, I just think the Titans are a better team, even with all the stuff going on. They're at home. I think this is a man-up moment for a lot of the leaders in the locker room. Kevin Byard in particular. I think Kevin Byard gets an interception in this game. I think the Titans do get back on track, but it's a lot closer than Titans fans want. I think it'll be tight in the fourth quarter with one big play or one big mistake having the ability to switch it. I'm going to take the Titans 20-17 in this game. That's kind of how I see it. I think it'll be close for all those reasons. And I just think that Jacksonville, even though the record is 4-8, I still think they're an improved team. It's just when you're trying to turn yourself from a losing team into a good team, it's hard to close games out. It's hard to be consistent. Consistency is what separates. In the NFL, you can win any weekend. Any team can win any weekend. It's which teams consistently can play good football week in and week out. And I think, losing teams that are trying to start from scratch, that's that next step. I think Detroit is in a similar place as Jacksonville, where they have talent, they have good coaching now, and they're just got to change the habits a little bit over time. And I don't think Jacksonville is quite ready to do that. I think next year is that year where Jacksonville maybe has a winning record and a bad division, is really there competitive at the end. But I think the Titans hold on here and get this one done and right the ship. But
one little caveat, I think, if the Jaguars are going to do what I said, they have to either score on special teams or defense.
Yeah,
they have to, because I agree with you. The Titans don't give up a lot of points, but the Jaguars they have a tendency to be opportunistic. If Andre Cisco plays, that'll help. And Jamal Agnew is very good in the return game, so that's where I get the extra 7 points. I say 20-16 close, and then the Jaguars do something, tip ball or whatever, to score some points at the end. So we'll see if it works out. I hope it does, man. And I appreciate you hosting this, and I'm a little under the weather, so thanks for carrying the heavy load today, little bro.
Yeah, not a problem at all. Not a problem at all. Enjoyable conversation anytime we get to do these crossovers, whether it be during the season or before the season. Of course, those are always barn burners as well. Either way, I'm very happy to be in the AFC South and get to hook up with you guys and our guys down in Houston, the new guys in Indy. It's a good group here in the division with the Locked On hosts. I hope you guys enjoyed this crossover conversation as we get you ready for this game. Both of us will have kind of our final thoughts and our preview for you guys on Friday, so make sure you turn into that. And then I know, like I do, I'm sure Tony will have some good reactions for you after the game as well.
Can you say it one time, though? Can you say the Jaguars? Can you say it just one time for me?
The Jacksonville Jaguars?
You damn right. How about that?
You're damn right. All right. Yeah. Well, I hope you guys enjoy the game. It should be a pretty good one. We'll be talking with you guys tomorrow.